According to Japanese mythology, this is the dwelling place of the sun goddess, Amaterasu. The sun goddess is a very important political figure in Japanese history, though she is mythological, I would assume. She's an important political figure because she is the figure from whom the imperial line gets its legitimacy. At some point, the imperial line was able to convince most of the rest of the Japanese people that it was descended directly from Amaterasu, the sun goddess. And this has been taught as Japanese history all the way up into the 1940s. Japanese school children were taught this, and often, if you decided you weren't going to teach it, as some 20th century teachers did, you could get in trouble. So this is important, legitimizing stuff. How did this come to be, that the imperial line could be descended from the sun goddess? How would a tale like this get propagated? And where did the Japanese actually come from? One theory argues that there have been human beings living in the Japanese islands for tens of thousands of years, and that about 10,000 years ago, a distinct culture developed, the Jomon. And we found Jomon pottery. It's very exquisite, it's advanced, cord-shaped pottery. You can go look at it. After the Jomon, it's not for thousands of more years, about 2,500 years ago, that a second distinct culture crops up, that of the Yayoi. We found their pottery too. You can go look at that too. And then at about 250 AD or so, there's a third major wave of migration. Again, all of this is guesswork. Anything this old is guesswork, particularly in a prehistoric situation. In other words, before written records. And that's what we're talking about in Japan. So it's all guesswork. So about 250 AD, a third wave. This wave almost certainly was militant in nature. It came from Korea. In other words, right across these waters right here. They probably would have landed right here, right in this area. These were mounted warriors with iron and bronze weapons. In other words, they had technology superior to that of the people who are living here, and perhaps this allowed them to set themselves up as a sort of military aristocracy over these people. And by the time the dust settles, Japan, at least southern and western Japan, is organized into sort of a clan-based group of societies, each clan led by a chief priest or a chief priestess. Eventually, one clan is able to carve out a sort of dominance over the others. It's a nominal dominance, but a dominance all the same, a sort of suzerainty. And that clan is called the Yamato. But the Yamato lack legitimacy. Anyone who wants to rule has to find legitimacy, has to be able to legitimize that rule. It's an age-old game. And so the Yamato, they've got to find some legitimacy for themselves. And they find it in the oral legends that they've been passing down over the centuries. What were these legends? Well, according to the legends, definitely embellished or tweaked by the Yamato over time, the Japanese people actually descend from the gods, or at least from godlike beings. See, these godlike beings, they create Japan. They create the sun and the moon and the storm. And at one point, storm is commanded to come down to the Japanese island, to descend from the high plane of heaven, where these godlike beings dwell, to the Japanese islands. He descends to Kyushu, the southern island, and begins having children and populating the islands. And a little later, the grandson of the sun goddess, the grandson of Amaterasu, also descends to Japan, to the floating bridge of heaven at Takachiho. And it's his great-grandson that then is supposed to have become the first emperor of Japan. Of course, there's no archaeological evidence for any of this, but this is the legend. And this is all supposed to have taken place in the 7th century BC. See, a whole chronology was created to buoy this story up. So 7th century BC, Japan's first mythological emperor, a direct descendant of the sun goddess. And this is a great story for the Yamato because it places the Yamato high priest or high priestess in a supreme position. And if you're looking for legitimacy, that's what you need. Legitimacy achieved, mission accomplished. The head of the Yamato clan is now a direct descendant of the sun goddess. Who else can claim that? Even the shrine itself here at Ise has a mythological origin story. Now, according to that story, the daughter of the 11th emperor, and these are of course mythological emperors, the daughter of the 11th emperor went on like a 20-year pilgrimage, and after 20 years she found herself here in Ise, and it was here that the sun goddess spoke to her or whispered to her and basically told her, you know, this is a beautiful place, I will dwell here. Well, she immediately marked off the spot, a shrine was built, and now this is the place. And even though Japanese school children aren't still taught that this is actual history, if anyone doubts the national power of this story, well, just visit Ise Shrine. Come here, come visit the Grand Shrine. You'll see line after line after line of people coming here to bow to, give obeisance to, what is essentially this national goddess. This is very, very powerful stuff. There's a reason that it was cultivated. There's a reason that it was cultivated 1,500 years ago or more by the Yamato. I don't know the origins of the Japanese. I don't know if they're descended from the gods, or if they, you know, are a mixture of wave after wave of migrants. And if these migrants came from Northeast Asia or Southeast Asia or China or Central Asia or somewhere else. One thing I can say, though, is that national myths are powerful. These are potent things. It was enough to keep an imperial line alive for 1,500 plus years and counting here in Japan. And in other places, national myths do other things. There's a reason that states cultivate them.